I took this film very personal. You know, it's me. It's not something, it has nothing to do with, you know, Jews or, you know, this is a collective act of people against God, and I'm part of it. I'm a sinner.
Certainly the New Testament doesn't produce the hatred of the Jews. How could it? Jesus is a Jew. All the apostles are Jews. Mary is a Jew. Everybody's I mean, as a Gentile myself, I suppose I could say, if I had one regret in life, it is that I'm not Jewish, because all my heroes are Jewish.
I look to Christians to understand how the message of Christ has been perverted for 2,000 years. To ignore that there were many people who believed, and there were thousands slaughtered who were given a choice: convert with a cross in your face, confess your love for Jesus, or die.
Some people have given Christianity a horrible name, and, you know, all the atrocities from history, you know, we have to point the finger at ourselves, because people claim to be Christians and yet they live like that, they would do that, and you would say, the Christian point of view would be, as you could probably figure out, would be they really weren't Christians.
Are we Jews here to be converted when the second coming comes, and if we accept him as you have, we will know everlasting life, and if we don't, we're doomed, I guess, as the rest of humanity is?
Yeah, that's true. It is true. Salvation is in Christ and Christ alone. There is no salvation apart from Christ. There is no other name, the Bible says, by which men can be saved. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to God except through him. There is no other way, whether you're a Jew or a Gentile, whatever, whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant, a Hindu or a Buddhist, there is no other way. And that's the reason the mandate is to go to the world and spread the message of the gospel.
You know, I spent my life going to temple every Friday. I had a bat mitzvah. I was in Hebrew school, and Jesus was never mentioned. Like, it was just a switch I turned off. I never wanted to hear about him because it just didn't matter. But then when I grew up and, you know, I was out into the world, I was no longer sheltered, someone shared the gospel with me at a restaurant, a total stranger. And she did it in a loving way, but she told me that there is only one way. And here I'd been reading philosophy books and studying everything about wisdom of God, never even thought of Christianity or Jesus.
Great meeting you.
Me too.
All right.
And the door is open, even though you're Jewish. I'm Jewish.
This is your way. I cannot accept somebody telling me that Gandhi or Mohammed or the myriad of other people that have been great spiritual leaders are not going to get in. My point is that there are many people that will read these lines and say, this is the literal truth, and this is what it means. Like the Catholic Church. They were here before evangelicals. So how can you be so certain, knowing they were wrong for 1,500 years? They read the same lines, they believed Jesus was the Son of God, but they didn't have it quite right.
Conversion is not from us, it's from God. So it's only the Holy Spirit who convicts the heart. And believe me, starting tonight, you're going to be included in my prayers.
Protocol number 17. We have already taken care to discredit the clergy of the Goys and thus to undermine their function. The King of Israel will become the real Pope of the universe.
There it is. Yeah. 1956 to 61.
Right.
Herman Levin was president. Look at this. My father's lips and his father's lips.
Well, he certainly stirred this place up. I mean, when he left, a good guy, I mean, he tried to, you know, bring them more into modern Judaism, and some of the old-timers couldn't handle that. I want to walk over to one of those windows.
I can read most of them. You're Herman Levin.
Oh.
Look at that.
Absolutely great. I mean, this meant a lot to him.
Passover was our family's most important annual gathering. It was there that my grandparents, my Nana and Papa, passed on the Jewish tradition to my cousins, my sisters, and me. The Exodus story of the Jews' journey from slavery to freedom is the total opposite of the Protocols. Its retelling starts with the children asking 4 questions of the elders. This year, at the downtown Seder, just blocks away from Ground Zero, I found myself asking a 5th question. Why are they still blaming the Jews?
Tonight is going into Pesach, which is the story of the freedom of the Jewish people. And we've been a small people that has been put into exile, spread all over the world, and somehow we've made it through. So I think in general that sometimes people see the Jews and they see this is not a normal people. They're not a people that there's something different about them. There's something supernatural about them almost. And therefore have wanted to take things out on us.
Me say you run, but you could not hide. None of them crazy murderers would never run from inside. You try to keep me down cause you see not joy. All them knows them from, so you call a man a boy. You not I can just see, open up your eyes.
The thing that makes Judaism dangerous to everybody, to every race, to every nation, to every idea, is that we smash things that aren't true. We don't believe in the boundaries of nation state. We don't believe in the ideas of these individual gods that protect individual groups of people. These are all artificial constructions, and Judaism really teaches us how to see that. In a sense, our detractors have us right, in that we are a corrosive force. We're breaking down the false gods of all nations and all people because they're not real. And that's very upsetting to people.
The Pesach is an invitation to become free. Can you have the courage to get rid of the things that you are slave to? Me, I'm slave to my cell phone, to my Palm Pilot, to my laptop, to my workaholicism, to my clients. Am I a free person? I ask you, are you a free person?
I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Exactly. So Pesach is a work in progress. Once a year, you get to sit with your friends and do procedure, order. What is out, what is in, what is bitter, what is sweet, who is the family, what is different. You clean. Today, I scrubbed my toilet. Now look, I have maids who clean up. I have a service. But the toilet, I clean myself.
And why is that?
You have to deal with your shit.
Things are not what they seem. Snakes are camouflage just to fit the scene. I put my faith in a mirage. It's just a smoke screen. You took that road and you know where it leads. 600,000 witnessed it. No, you didn't forget. No, you didn't forget. No, you didn't forget. No, you didn't forget.
اسمع، بدنا دم طفل مسيحي قبل الفصح مشان الفطير.
Thanks. Oh, this is nice. Mehdi, have you seen any of these Arab TV miniseries that have caused so much controversy? How do you feel about it?
My feeling that there was so much overreaction because when it comes to anything about Jewish, the whole world will turn upside down. And there was pressure put on the Egyptian government, other Arab governments, other satellite networks, just because something was mentioned about Jewish. But on the contrary, when there's something about Muslim and Islam and terrorism, nobody cares.
So, after 9/11, did you feel people treat you differently?
Absolutely. On the day of 9/11, actually, I was driving my daughter and some of her friends from school because, everything was closed. And we were yelled at on the street by a lady. She jumped from her car, started telling the girls, take off your veils. I do not want to see more children suffering from all this atrocity that's been happening for the past 50 or 60 years.
fighter jets and helicopter gunships struck targets around Gaza and the West Bank. For 14 months now, the situation in the Middle East has been at a boiling point. Now it appears it may be about to explode.
لمن وضع حزاما ناسفا على نفسه أو على أبنائه ودخل في أعماق اليهود وقال الله أكبر ولله الحمد.
Nothing has done more to fuel the hatreds and create a new generation of believers in the Protocols than the endless cycle of violence between the Israelis and the Palestinians. The charter of the militant Hamas organization states that the Zionist plan is, quote, embodied in the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Hi, we're here in Sunset Park because there's been a meeting called of the Arab American community after the assassination of Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, leader, founder of Hamas, who was blown up a day and a half ago in his wheelchair in Gaza.
The struggle of the Palestinian people did not start with Sheikh Yassin, nor will it end with him. So no matter how many people the Israeli criminals kill, no matter how many homes they destroy, they will never, ever break the Palestinian spirit.
A guy like Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, he dies, you know, that's like one of the main guys that really cared about us, you know? He really spoke with energy. He cared so much about Palestinians.
Do you believe Jews and Muslims can live together?
Oh yeah, I seen it. Trust me, I seen it. I seen it with my own eyes. I had a lot of Jewish friends out there. Plenty. I used to go out to Tel Aviv. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, my name's Awad. You know, I'm Palestinian. No problem. Yeah, you know. American, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. Sure, you know. We got along so well. But, you know, politics, you know, it turned everybody angry on each other. Like, you see everybody over here, I can't really look at somebody that's against me right now. That's Israeli. If I see an Israeli, of course, you know, I'm going to be very angry. I'm not going to be pleasant to look at them and watch them just walk right by me. And knowing that overseas, they're killing my brothers and my sisters.
Sharon, he's the true terrorist. Come here. He's the true terrorist. He should be condemned. No. Let him talk. Sharon is the true terrorist. He's the one committing martial law.
Sir, would you respect our...
Destroying agriculture.
If you want to do this interview, one of two things, inside or outside.
Nobody understands fear more than Muslims, especially Palestinians. We live every day with fear. We don't know when the phone's gonna ring, which relative died, whose house got demolished. People just going to school to take finals, stuff like that. They never come home, you know? You gotta hear grieving mothers all the time. I also understand how Americans feel fear because of what happened on 9/11. People left their house in the morning, expected to come home, and they never came home, so it could happen to anybody.
There are good Arabs, there are bad Arabs. The ones that did 9/11, they're, what can I say, they're bastards. That's nothing else but that. We are not. We are not one of those people. Yeah, we do want peace. How do we form peace when we are oppressed?
What's the difference between a suicide bomber and an F-16 bomber? I didn't know how to answer it.
We have no weapons, so we use our own possible means.
They use
it. A suicide belt costs $150. An Apache helicopter costs $15 million. You do the difference.
Now the Palestinians had nothing. The only thing they had left was faith. So they take away that, what happens? Chaos between the Palestinians. That's what the Israeli government wants. It's that simple. If nobody sees it over here, if you don't see it,
and maybe you're denying it, I don't know what to tell you. And he didn't want peace. Don't say he didn't want peace. And I saw the headlines that they had in Daily News and the New York Post. That's all bullshit.
I am not going to defend the media. But let me ask you this. You don't think the Arab world media is biased?
الطفلة دي هتعرفكم دلوقتي على نفسها. هي بنت أخت ليا في الله هويدا، وبنت الفنان وجدي العربي، وهي اسمها بسملة، وهنسألها كمان. السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اسمك ايه؟
بسملة.
بسملة، عندك كام سنة؟
3 سنين ونص.
انت مسلمة؟ بسملة، انت تعرفي اليهود؟ بتحبيهم؟ لا، ما بتحبيهمش ليه؟
كده.
عشان هم ايه؟
هم قردة وخنازير.
عشان هم قردة وخنازير؟ مين قال عليهم كده؟
ربنا.
قال عليهم فين؟
في القرآن.
قال عليهم في القرآن كده، صح.
Protocols number 24. The pillar of the universe in the person of the world ruler, sprung from the sacred seed of David, must sacrifice all personal desires for the benefit of his people.
In the end of the Protocols, a Jew rules the world. And for much of the world today, because of the support for Israel, the new Jews are Americans.
Came out to show our support to Israel. You know, we're Jewish kids, Orthodox kids living in the New York area.
Of course, we believe anything that was part of Israel in the Bible should be part of Israel now. You want those areas because it's important to us, you know, it's our fundamentals and stuff. If there's no Israel, then there's no us.
It seems to me that 50, 60, 70 years after the Holocaust, we've forgotten what Israel means to the Jewish people. That we created a state because we had no place else to go, and this resurgence of anti-Semitism, which is disguised as anti-Zionism, okay, is disgusting.
Can you criticize Israel and
of course I criticize Israel and I'm a good Jew. You know why? Because it isn't right-wing enough. Because they don't expel the Arabs, because they're staying there in a suicidal situation with 3 million Nazi-like Palestinians, every one of which wants to blow themselves up, with a death mentality, with a modern mentality. They want to kill us and wipe us out. And what are they doing there? They have to go. Kahana was right.
From the minute they're born and they can talk, they're brainwashed to hate Jews, to hate Christians, to hate Americans, to hate. Now, if you want peace with people like that are programmed, that's insanity. That's suicide. That's suicide. That's why when these peace lovers, they go to these countries, I mean, I feel horrible about Nicholas Berg dying and so forth, but he learned a lesson. We all learned a lesson. You want to embrace these people as you treat them with all this peace and love, your head's going to be rolling in the street, rolling on the internet for us all to watch. That's what's going to happen to all these peace lovers, that they think that peace is the answer. That peace is great in a perfect world, but these people don't want peace.
هذا يهودي خلفي، تعال واقطع رأسه. ونحن نقطعها، والله لا نقطعها. أيها اليهود، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر. الجهاد في سبيل الله. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. يا أمة القرآن، الله أكبر، يا أمة القرآن. الله أكبر عليكم. الله أكبر. والنصرة للمؤمنين. الله أكبر. والنصرة للمؤمنين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. يا أمة القرآن.
My name is Daniel Pearl. I'm a Jewish American from California, USA. I come from, on my father's side, a family of Zionists. My father's Jewish. My mother's Jewish. I'm Jewish. My family follows Judaism. We've made numerous family visits to Israel.
Yeah. When you see something like this, a journalist would be kidnapped who's trying to understand this new world and trying to make sense of it, and that he could be slaughtered like an animal and his head held up as a prize, as a trophy, and that somewhere in the world people watch that and celebrate, laugh, and feel somehow empowered or victorious. It's just tragic, and I just hope that whatever we do in some way continues his search for truth and his belief that somehow you could make a difference and ultimately bring people together.
We thought he disappeared, but he didn't. Call it anti-Semitism, a term coined at the end of the 19th century, or simply Jew hatred. It is the oldest collective bigotry in recorded history. It is no longer political, social, or religious, or ethnic. It is existential. It is metaphysical. The anti-Semite doesn't know me, but he hates me. Actually, he hated me even before I was born. Help us fight it. Help us disarm it. For hatred is dangerous. Hatred is contagious. He or she who hates Jews hates all minorities, all those who are different. He or she who hates Jews will end up hating everybody, and then himself.
Why those people died has everything to do with it. They weren't killed by Islamic fundamentalists.
This is not a political stage here, man.
Look at the size of that flag. Of course this is a political stage. Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here.
Fuck off me. People like you fucking disgust me. You fucking disgust me. You fucking have no idea. The fuck out of here.
Even the third anniversary memorial at Ground Zero didn't silence the conspiracy theorists and provocateurs. People are going to speculate about what happened and why for years. The Protocols' thesis that the Jews clandestinely mastermind world events continues to persist despite all the evidence.
Jeff Levine.
John Dennis Levi.
Alicia Karen Levin.
Neil David Levin.
Look, America changed on September 11th, and some of the cost of that change was those human lives.
At the New York City Medical Examiner's office, I met with the man in charge of identifying the World Trade Center remains. To my surprise, it turned out he was also the cantor at the temple where my children were bar mitzvahed.
They're both, in a sense, service roles. Here as a cantor, I serve my congregation at the medical examiner's office. We serve the community at large. We have a number of refrigerators like this, carefully inventoried. We know exactly what's here from every one of the unidentified remains so that we can keep working on them. Nothing brings home what's happened, like walking into a mortuary area and seeing 8 tables filled with bits and pieces of what used to be human beings. I mean, you can't hold fragments of a femur bone in your hand and seeing them burnt on one end and shredded on the other end and not realize the catastrophe that's happened here. And you can't turn over a burnt, still smoking piece of clothing with some charred tissue inside of it and a piece of belt on it and a beeper on it, and the beeper is somehow miraculously intact enough to still be working. And, you know, you can't realize that this used to be somebody. And then, you know, we hear this nonsense about the Jews did it. You know, no Jews died. You know, you've got to be filled with complete and blind hatred and an inability or an unwillingness to see the actual truth. Jews were killed in September 11th. Hundreds and hundreds of Jews were killed. I spoke to their families. I went to memorial services, and I went to the grave of a very good friend of mine, who was the assistant cantor of our synagogue, Jeffrey Weiner, who was a Jew and who was killed.
Jeff was a manager of a risk management group on the 96th floor of the World Trade Center. It was during our first date, actually, that I realized that he was Jewish. I didn't know a lot of Jewish people growing up, and he made some kind of comment I don't even remember what it was, but he was just like, if that ever happened, my mother, you know, that's it, the Messiah has come. And I was like, the Messiah has come. I'm like, oh, he's Jewish. I remember that before I converted, I asked the rabbi, I said, if something like the Holocaust were to ever happen here, if I didn't convert, would my children be safe? And he said, no, probably not. You know, in Germany, they went back to, you know, if you were as much as a quarter Jewish, that was Jewish enough.
Was your friend Jeff and Heidi's husband, was he ever identified?
Yes, he was. You know, I had a conversation with Heidi sometime after the memorial service in '01. You know, considering where Jeff worked and how close he must have been to the impact, I told her not to hold out any hope that we would ever find anything. And personally, in my heart of hearts, I never believed that we would find anything. And then in March, we made an identification of a leg bone that was found on the roof of a building about a block and a half away from the first tower. That bone was identified by DNA, and that's what we buried.
Your life has moved forward. How do you, kind of think about these spiritual issues now?
I have to admit that I got a lot less angry when my daughter was born. It's hard. I'm still very angry that this wonderful person was taken away from us. I mean, he was everyone's best friend, and he was the nicest person I have ever met.
In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, I was fond of saying that they killed some of us and brought out the best in the rest of us. And that was my experience. The people that I worked with came from all over the United States, and the families that I interacted with and tried to help came from every walk of life. And I was hugged by Presbyterians and Muslims and Episcopalians and Jews, and nobody that I interacted with from the families. Not from Japan and Australia and from Great Britain and from Canada and from all across the United States of America. Nobody ever said to me, oh, you're Jewish, well, I don't want you to help me, or I'm not going to work alongside you.
When I converted, they asked me the one thing about Judaism that I wanted to teach my children. And it was the idea of tikkun olam, to heal the world. And I like that aspect of to leave the world in a better place than when you found it.
Is this the first time you've been to the grave of your parents?
No, unfortunately, since other relatives are here, I've been out here a couple of times, and it does kind of make you hope that you're living the right way, so that when you go, people will think good thoughts.
Absolutely. Beloved husband, father, grandfather, who said, God means go do good.
That was his basic philosophy. Go do good.